I've been thinking about and talking about lately in crypto. One of my favorite patterns is real simple, and I'm actually thinking about putting together some people that would actually who really want to learn to trade and trade just one pattern, and I would help you identify the ones that are the best and so on. And then that pattern I think would be Landry light pullbacks. It's just a really simple pullback type of pattern where you're looking for a nice run above the 30 EMA, and then you're looking for a pullback to the EMA. And one thing I wanted to show you there is last week in the weekend charts, I talked about the fact that I got shaken out of this pair right here. And after I got shaken out, of course, the next day I go straight back up. But then I looked at the chart and realized that it didn't even touch the 30 EMA. So that's one of the things that's kind of amazing is that the 30 EMA can keep you out of a lot of trouble and help to keep you on the right side of the market. And that's especially true in these altcoins, as I'll show you in 1 second. But this is what it looks like as illustrated with this is stock charts ACP. And this shows you, this is the spiders, it shows you the number of bars below the 30 EMA. And usually if you watch for like a pullback to the EMA, like right here, that would have been a really good shorting opportunity in the Ps. And it's just a really good way to stay on the right side of the market. And I've talked about this quite a bit, but it just always amazes me. Notice all the green back here. Notice this big run we've had. And in crypto, what's kind of cool about it is if you just take some of these pairs that are just absolutely imploded for a long time, and you'll notice, let me see if I can find a good one. Titcoin would be a good one. You can see that it's lost a significant amount of its value below the 30 EMA. So if you didn't do anything but avoided markets that were below the 30 EMA, I think you do really well, especially if you have the Landry light below. I'm trying to find a good example of that. And let's see, can I see the chat? See what's coming in? Show chats, previews. David, did I look at the chat, or are you going to ask
Y-
the questions from the chat?
No, well, yeah, you should be able to see the chat.
Okay, I'm
Did you
trying to
find it?
see it. Okay, here we go. Here we go. I got it. Okay, fantastic. Let me get rid of this. Okay, cannot dance, lose a leg. Anyway, so like I was saying, and I'm trying to find a really good example of this, the 30 EMA is really good to keep you on the right side of the market. And in stocks, it works really well too. This is, by the way, this is my Landry list here. Let me just kind of show you a couple things while we're waiting on 80 EMA. Okay, we'll take a look at that. This is my first 3,000% gainer in the Landry list. And these stocks are just simply 100 stocks. And all I'm doing is when the stock makes a 52-week high, and ideally the more volatile stocks, I'm adding it to this list. So this is just one of the things I'm doing. I'm just going to kind of show you a few things that I do. All right, Dave, how you make money? Well, I like to trade mostly pullbacks, and TFPM is one that we recently got long. And let me just show you that real quick. And we'll ADMA, that's next. We'll show you that one next. But if you take a look at the 30 EMA, and let's make that a nice thick color. So this is one we just got long recently, and I'll show you another one in a second. And notice that it was in a really nice uptrend, and then it pulled back to the 30 EMA both here, and then it pulled back again here. And we got long on this day here. Now, we immediately were profitable, but then the position went into a loss before it took off. Initial profit target was up here, and I walked through these in the weekend charts recently. And so you can see nice run higher. So far, so good. One that hasn't hit the profit target yet, KGC. These are the only two stocks that we're currently long, is KGC. And it's taken off nicely, but come back in a little bit. And it's doing okay, but it's been kind of a bumpy ride with that one. Okay, ADMA, ADMA. And we can look at crypto if you want to also. Okay, this stock wouldn't really excite me too much. First thing you want to do is you want to look at the net price movement. And the net price movement, you could see we're at about let's say 19 or 20 round numbers. And then back in time, you go back in time, you can see we're at 20 way back in March. Okay, so that's 3 months almost exactly where your net price movement is nil or actually slightly negative. So that's one of the first things I would look for in a chart. So it's taken off, but it's come back in. And it's also a little wide and loose longer term. So you want to find something that's in a little bit better trend and has pulled back. MSTR, this one has pulled back to the EMA and it's just kind of chopping around a little bit. I prefer to find something that was in clear air, like the TFPM. Notice that you're in clear air up here. There's no overhead supply or anything to deal with. But this MSTR, you've got prior trading back here. You had a pretty good run here, and it pulled back to 30, and that's okay. But I prefer it to be at brand new highs before looking to go after something like that. So I would wait for new highs on that and maybe a pullback. TSLA Tesla. Tesla, same sort of action too. It's like it's taken off nicely, but then it had this sharp retrace, which would be okay if it was kind of like in a brand new leg in and of itself toward new highs. So you can see way back here, you can see you've had some pretty nice runs and pullbacks along the way. So that's the kind of pattern that you want to be looking for at this point. Just take a look at the spider itself. Yeah, we just looked at the spider. And we can look at the cash too. Now, the S&P has plowed through most of this overhead supply. And notice the Landry light. You can go all the way back to May, actually April. The end of April was the last time it touches 30 EMA. So that it kind of amazes me how simple this Landry light is, but how to keep you in the right side of the market. I'm not going to get too excited about the S&P 500 until and unless it can freeze this. Okay, it's frozen. Okay, let me share it and reshare on that. All right, let me just share it again. Okay, now see it's okay. Let me just go over these real quick again. So everything I said for ADMA a second ago, you could see that the net price movement, it really hasn't moved in a while on that one. And then Tesla, it's had a pretty good run. If for a bottoming type of pattern, I'd like to see really, really major lows. And it's taken off. It's come all the way back into where it really kind of broke out from. So I wouldn't be too excited about Tesla. As a general statement, not that I won't trade thicker stocks, big, well-known stocks, because like GE, for instance, is looking pretty good at the moment. Okay, but as a general statement, I like a little bit more inefficient stocks, a little bit more lower in volume within reason. But this would be a pretty good example of a thicker stock that I might consider trading because it made an inefficient type of move. Historical volatility is right here. And I apologize for not having this screen shared. So if anything didn't get, if I need to go over any more, let me know. But you can see HV is okay. What's the spiders HV? Spiders or 30. Oh, wow. I didn't realize they were that high. But you can see this is a really, really nice persistent move. It tends to go up day after day after day after day. And it came down here and it almost kissed the 30, close enough for what I call a Landry light pullback. So that would be the type of setup that I'm more excited about, that I'm looking for, as opposed to something that's a little bit more like an electrocardiogram is what I often call those. So let me see if I can get some more questions up. Yeah, keep them coming. Okay, let me see if I can get back to the chat. Dave, I seem to have lost the chat, so we can figure out how to get that back. I can't see him anymore. Let's see. Oh, here we go. All right, yeah, sorry about that. Okay, did we miss any? Okay, curious on why the 30 EMA versus the 20 EMA. Is it a preference or based on back testing? So the 20 EMA, years ago, I really liked the 20 EMA. And I liked it because it represents 1 month of trading. Okay. And I actually wrote a system, and I'm going to date myself here. In 1995, I think it was published in 1996, and it was called the 220 EMA breakout system. And all you're looking for there was 2 bars above the 20 EMA. And it's just in more recent times, I started using the 30 EMA more and more. I have some moving averages I call bow ties. and that's a 10 simple and the 20 exponential and the 30 exponential. And I just found myself in more recent years gravitating more and more to that 30 EMA. But you could use both of them. Like for instance, we just talked about a Landry light pullback to the 30 EMA. So this one is a Landry light pullback to the 20 EMA. And if you want my books, you can get them. You can go to davelandry.com/ I think it's free dash book, and I'll confirm that in a minute when we have an impasse. And in the books, I talk about a pattern called Kiss Ma Goodbye, Kiss the Moving Average Goodbye. And that's since been changed to Landry Light Pullbacks. And you'll see in the book, I use a 20 EMA, which is fine. You're going to get a few more signals. The 30 EMA, one thing I like is because about that is it's that you'll get a little bit deeper retracement to it. So I like to see everything I do has a psychological backing to it. So I like to see people knocked out. I have a pattern called a trend knockout. This is sort of a trend knockout bar here. And then you have a little bit of pullback from that. So I know that people who bought it at 260 are probably thinking about getting out. Okay. And that anyone who shorted it at those highs is probably happy right now. But if that market begins to rally, they're going to get squeezed out. Okay. Sorry about the screen, guys. Yeah, thank you, David. So it is davelandry.com/free dash book, and you can get the books for free there. Let's take a look at like gold, for instance. And let's take a look at, let me get over to and we'll come back to this Landry 100. So if we take a look at gold stocks, for instance, and let's go back to just a blank chart. Okay. So you can see now gold stocks are going to be a little bit wide and loose and choppier than I would prefer. So I'm a little bit more lenient when it comes, and that's why I like the TFPM. Although the TFPM was pretty clean for a gold stock, it's fairly decent. You can see it for the most part, it tends to persist higher, and it got a little wide and loose after we got in it, but going into it, it was a fairly clean setup. Okay, what was the other ones? Did we get all the other ones? Sorry about that earlier. Tesla, MTSR. We'll go back over MSTR again. So you can see you're kind of in mid-range here. This would be like the high that it's made, obviously, and this would be like a low. You're kind of in mid-range. As I said earlier, I prefer you to be in more clear air as opposed to kind of the middle of the range. And that's just because anybody who bought higher than these levels here might be looking to get out of break even. And the thing is, there's nothing magical about the way I approach markets. I try to keep it simple. In fact, my nickname is Trend Following Moron, which I was very offended when somebody called me that because it was somebody I had the utmost respect for. But he was fighting the trend at the time, and I kept drawing big blue arrows on my chart, and it began to aggravate him, and I thought we were having fun. And the email was anonymous, but I knew who it was. Anyway, it stuck after a while. After I got over being bummed out about it, I realized that when I fought the markets or tried to outsmart the markets, I lost money. But if I paid attention to the trend and traded with the trend, then I did okay. So maybe I am a trend following moron. NNE is a blast from the past. I love these small nuclear stocks. Now let me show you that. Let's go back in time with this one. This is one of our biggest winners. Unfortunately, we got shaken out. We did get a profit target on it. I'm a big fan of IPOs. There's two patterns in IPOs I like. Number one would be what I call the buy at B pattern. And that is you're looking to buy at the first closing high. So let me show you that real quick. And my theory there is if a market's going to go from A to B to C, and B is somewhere in between, then you could look to buy at B, so to speak. Okay. So right here would be your new closing high on this particular day. The only other rule is that it has to also be higher than the day one high. Okay. So if this high here was much lower, then the buy would be on this day here. So it's the first closing high with a few caveats. And if we have time, I can give you some of the other rules for this pattern. So this would have been a buy here, possible profit taking up here, and you may have gotten shaken out of that one. but that was the first buy. The next pattern that I like in IPOs is once they get a little bit established, is when they have that first deep retracement like we had back here. And I think this is when we went after this one because it accelerated higher and then it had a nice deep pullback. And if memory serves, and I could check, if you go to davelandry.com/archives and look at the video for, it would be 628. So if you look at 628.24, you probably will see that set up. And it's a good exercise, if I say so myself, going through those archives. So you can see what I was thinking at the time when we were looking at these, first look at these. Now let's get back to the current. So for me, I'm not a breakout trader except two times. One notable exception would be in something like the buy at B pattern that I just discussed. The other time would be sometimes in crypto when it's blowing and going. And it seems like we have a bull bear cycle every 6 weeks or so in crypto. So when you see Bitcoin doing well as kind of your bellwether and a lot of other pairs rallying higher, and we'll jump back to crypto in just a second, and I'll show you what I mean. You could buy those breakouts. So for NNE, this would be more of a breakout play, and I wouldn't be interested in going after it just yet because you have a lot of trading back here. People might be looking to get out of break even. So for me to go after with my methodology, and again, it's not a be all end all perfect methodology, but for me, I would have to see this stock make new highs and then look to play pullbacks along the way. There's another, forget the name of it. Oh, SMR. Okay. So SMR would be a much better example of what this is on my watch list. And this is also should be in my Landry 100. Yeah, this is in my Landry 100. So it's up 3%, 611. So I just put this one in last week on 611. And now for this momentum list, I don't actually trade this momentum list with real money, but sometimes some of my stocks come from this list. So if I see a pullback in here, then I might go after it. So anyway, if you're interested in the small scale nuclear power, I would keep an eye on this SMR and look at this amazing Landry light in here. So I would wait for a pullback or something like a trend knockout, which you can get from those aforementioned books if you want. I would wait for that to happen and then look to get long. So I would prefer SMR over NNE, but just give it some time. So just real quick, since we came back to this Landry 100, we'll get back to your stock picks in 1 second. All I'm doing here is buying new closing highs. So you can see this one was bought on 5-1, so to speak. Now, I did experiment with real money a little bit with this, but for the most part, this is just a kind of a hypothetical thing. But it does give me a lot of fodder or potential setups from it. So if we can get to, let me show you, it was on 5-1. Let's see when 5-1 was, May 1st. Okay. And I got a really simple scan that I use for this. And I think it was right here. Let's see. Okay, is this 5-1 here? Yeah, so that's 5-1. You can see it was a new closing high on that particular day on May 1st. And it came up in my scans as a new 52-week high. And I liked the volatility of it at the time. It had decent volatility. I'm using 50-day historical volatility. And that's how that one was put into the list. And again, this helps me to potentially find some setups by maintaining this momentum list. I actually look at about 2,000 charts a day, but notice how most of these stocks are really trending nicely, like this AEVA. Look at the persistency in this stock, and that's what you want stocks to look like. Be careful going after the Teslas and the big stocks unless they're really set up, like the GE I just showed you. So you want something like the AEVA. This is a nice trend. And look at this. This is the gold stock. This is pretty amazing trending persistency for a gold stock. So ASM would be another one of these. And I occasionally publish my list to my group. And if you guys want a copy of these, I could certainly publish them. I'm on Substack now, thanks to David Cosmenter. And Substack.dave, or it's davelandry.substack.com, I think. And I'll publish this list after this webinar if you guys would like to take a look at that. Dave, what's our time today on this? Now, this list, just by the way, there's no money
Sorry,
management.
I had to set my headset down for a second, but yeah, you have about 7 minutes left.
Oh, okay, okay, fantastic. So you can see most of these are trending nicely in here. And again, there's no money management in this. And what I'll do is as they weaken, I'll begin to look. So here's a biotechnology I just put in, I think yesterday. Yeah, 616. So that was put in yesterday. And it would be hard for a private trader to buy all 100 stocks. Okay. But I am experimenting with it and trying to figure out a way to make it work. But the beauty of this thing is it puts you in the hunt, like RBLX and that X. Now that's a big, thick stock, but look at how it performs. Look at the persistency here. So if you don't walk away with anything today, just look for stocks that have really good persistency like this and look for that Landry light above that 30 EMA and then possibly a pullback to it. So RBRK, I don't like this gap, and that's why I didn't recommend this setup here, but it's certainly trending and it's certainly pulled back to the moving average. And it certainly has, except for this gap right here, which I don't like. Again, it's a really good looking setup. So you want your setups to look something like that. Um, and there's not a tremendous amount of stocks that are set up at the moment, but you can see there's a lot of stocks that are trending. So we could see some setups fairly soon. There's that SMR we just talked about. And see something like this that's losing momentum. This might come out of the list fairly soon, or it might actually get replaced with something. Here's another one's not really doing fantastic. So that one might come out the list. And then I would want something that's strong to replace it. So SSMR, and that's a gold stock. So we got a lot of golds in here. And I have a pie chart too that I published yesterday on Substack that you could see. That's the other beauty of this list is it shows you everything is stacking up. And then one more point, years ago when I did this for a while, and the software I was using no longer exists, so it was becoming a real pain to track it. But one of the things that I found was when I was able to see the entire list in as far as up or down for the day, it would just get absolutely creamed, even though sometimes the stock market was making all-time highs. And it always was a bit of a head scratcher. But what was interesting was within 2 to 3 days, the market would have a sharp sell off. So this was a really good kind of a harbinger of things to come. And I've learned a lot in the process. So that means that momentum is going to get hit first before everything else. Okay, any more setups or anything? Let's see, here's another one. This is a nice little accelerated trend higher, and it's pulled back to the moving average. And just remember, we're buying on strength, not weakness. We're not trying to catch a falling knife. All right, let me just switch to crypto real quick, and then we'll, if I have time, I'll show you some of the things there with the Landry light. Just give me 1 second on that. So getting back to crypto, when the market is doing really, really well, and again, I'm not a breakout trader, but sometimes when the market is doing really well, and you have a lot of these that are just going kind of straight up, and right now is not that time. But you know, it's something you got to check back often. You have to continue to do your homework, okay, every day. But sometimes, again, sometimes you can just buy the strongest ones, and right now is not that time. But again, check back often. But let me just show you something real quick. I know I just only have a few minutes left, so we have to wrap it up soon. But again, that 30 EMA could be your best friend. So like maybe back here, this breakout here could have been played. I played Syrup on a breakout. I'll show you that one. I actually got knocked out of a loss, so I'm not bragging on it, but it's like it's a good lesson in making sure your stops aren't too tight. So you can see nice little pullback to the moving average, and look at how this entire trend, except for this one little kiss right here, is contained by the 30 EMA. And this is where I got stopped out again right here on this one. Okay, any more questions real quick? I can see if I can squeeze something in. Obviously, I want to thank all you guys and girls for attending today. Thank you, David Cosmeter, for having me back once again. Sorry about those technical issues getting started earlier, but we should have those worked
Oh,
out before the next presentation. So thank you,
yeah, no
David,
problem.
and thank you,
Great analysis.
everyone else. Thank you.
All right.